What's up, everybody? It's Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is August 20th, 2024. I'm sorry in advance if you hear my kid yapping in the background. He is on VR just playing, and he gets a little worked up, a little noisy. So if you can hear him, I apologize. With that, our call put scenario paid out handsomely today. There was very specific things that we needed to see in order to take them. When we did see those things and we did take the trade, we got paid well for it. After that, we took one additional trade, or at least I took one additional trade. That was a very small winner, turned into a big one. I wasn't in it for when it got to where we wanted to go, but it is what it is. And then finally, we found a couple of late day trades that I don't typically take, and I didn't this time, but we have some people that trade late in the day, and we were able to find some great trades with good reasoning behind them. So let's go ahead and launch a chart, see what we got going on, and talk about what we did. Now, I did my charting a little bit earlier than I normally do, but not by much. So our pre-market range held pretty good, and then we started to fall out of that range. We originally were going to open up with a gap below us, which is yesterday's high of day. We closed that in pre-market and dropped all the way down to our second target low. Now, our put scenario was a close below 559.07 so long as Qs were below this dotted line. Okay, so this was a 2 criteria trade, meaning SPY might get below the put line before Qs, but if Qs haven't gotten below this line first or at any time, you do not take the put trade. Okay, as you can see, Qs were on it. That's why we wanted to be below that line before we jumped into puts in SPY. That didn't happen. In fact, that became a springboard to the upside, both on SPY and Qs. So we never made it to the put line on SPY. Qs bounced up. Our call line on SPY was a breach above 559.37. Now, where are we looking to go? Well, the minimum trade was to the pink line, okay? But if you look at Qs and you look at SPY, Qs got through their resistance, turned it right into support, stayed in the trade. ADD was oddly enough was moving down. Okay, so this is why I don't pay much mind to ADD. However, if I'm in a trade when ADD is trending up or down, that might be a reason that I stay in a trade through my anticipated profit target. Okay, so this is something we talk about throughout the day, and it becomes reasoning to stay in trades longer, not reasons to get into trades. All right, but as you could see, Qs and SPY were trending up. Qs turned resistance into support. That kept you in the trade. SPY turned their pink line into support, kept you in the trade. We were moving up. And then when the Qs got up here towards this resistance up here, anytime we hit a line of resistance, guys, whether it's on Qs or SPY, now I tend to follow the Qs more than I do SPY. You got to consider taking profits there. So that's why there's all these circles. So our first profit target was here. Second one was here because it's the next resistance up. Third one was here because both Qs and SPYs were running into resistance at 940, right? Now Qs were struggling to get through that resistance, but they were not moving lower. So all this is basically buyers and sellers having a fight. We have room to hold to see who's going to win. We know that if we break back below this orange line, that we're going to get out of our calls. And if we stay above it, we're going to stay in, hoping the buyers end up winning. Once we got this higher low put in, that was all systems go to stay in your calls, because higher lows are bad for puts, okay, not bad for calls. And we would expect resistance to fail at that point, and very shortly thereafter, it did exactly that and continued to run up. So as we moved up, you just have to move your stops behind your profits. And when you hit a resistance that ultimately holds, you don't have to give up too much profit, but you catch the majority of the move. Now for me, I didn't catch the majority of the move. I caught a good portion of the move. For my first trade was a 37.8% win. And I was happy with that. And then it just kept going. So kudos to those who played it. Now, in our put scenario, as you could see, now there was a good entry point here, okay? I missed this because I wasn't on the microphone at this time. We pulled back to support. We had broken the uptrend. As you guys know, if you watch my videos, there's always two criteria before you go from being in calls, in this case, because we were moving up, before you should consider buying puts. Number one criteria, and this is always the case, whether you're moving up or down, wait for the break of the trend. Check. We break the trend line at 10:01. Number two, wait for a lower high to confirm that the buyers are not strong enough to bring us right back up into the resistance we just came from. Number two, check. Now you should be looking for puts. When should you be looking for puts? Not on support. Wait for the break of support or a close below support. Get you in here. You're looking for the next support down would be here. We closed through that on the very same candle. So you're looking for the next one down, which would be here. Entry at resistance or at the break of support. Entry at resistance gives you a tighter stop loss. A break of that support gives you the move to continue down to the next support. This is how you do this, guys. If you can be patient enough to wait for these things to happen, you can turn your trades into decent winners, okay? Now, put line, 559.07. We touch it, we didn't breach it, and we didn't close below it until 10:15 or 10:16. What haven't we done yet? On the Qs, we have not closed below that line on the Qs at 10:16. We didn't do that until 10:28. So at 10:28, not only did the Jim indicator pop off, indicating that everything we care about, at least at that moment, was moving in the same direction, i.e. momentum. We were below support. We were staying below support, turned support into resistance, okay? We stayed in. Qs stayed below their resistance level, okay? Now this dotted line here is a 50% retracement level. It's not an area of support and resistance. Actual support and resistance are these solid lines. And as you can see, we got through one and it did make its way down to the next one. So this was just an intermediary level of support that we created in pre-market. So I was telling everybody, if we can get below that, we should head down to the next one. We got below it. We stayed below the most recent resistance to our left, and it pushed us down to the next support. So that was the second trade I took. Took it all the way down to this line here because that was our put scenario. We said, guys, if the Qs are below that line and SPY could get below this line, I believe we're going to make a run down for 558.20. Okay, we took that trade. It was a 31% winner, and bada bing. Okay, so that's two trades on the day. We're putting in lower highs. We have a new support here. I do believe lower highs in relations to this is indicative that we're likely to get through there, through the support. But if you want to be a bit more conservative, which is I was, wait for a breach of that support, okay? And then we'd be hoping to make it down to this low of day. This is what I was really believing we were going to do. We got through the support. We stayed below the support. Now, I had a bunch of people stay in this trade. I stopped out of this trade on this candle right here. Once I saw that we couldn't get through that support and Qs were struggling at this support here, I told everybody, guys, I don't feel comfortable holding these trades. The move's not getting down to where I thought it was going to get. I still have the alert there. This is where I thought the Qs were going to go. From the break of this support on the Qs, I thought we were going to head down for this one. It took too long. It took too long, so I scared myself out of the trade. I'm not upset about it. I made a very, very small profit on there. It was about 9% on the stop out. Got in where I was supposed to, got out because I was uncomfortable with the fact that SPY wasn't moving down anymore and Qs weren't moving down anymore. After several touches of this line, I told them, guys, it's evident that we're having a difficult time moving lower. Consider taking your profits. If you got in up here and you got out down there, you're still making money. For those of you who want to push the envelope, as long as we stay below the line of support that we needed to break to get into puts, that would be worst case scenario. Stay below that line, you could still aim for the support that we were really looking for. As luck would have it, not luck, but for them, we stayed below that line and we did finally make it down to that last support, which proved to be a very strong support. Even after we touched it, we bounced off of it, only to come back down to it again. Now, Jimmy, when would you buy puts again? Well, I would buy puts, and I'd be looking for a very specific level down from there of puts because we're breaking support here. Okay, now at 12.12 on the Qs, we were also trying to get off resistance. I said everybody who happened to be in calls, get to the pink line. I would be very concerned with that level. Every time we've touched it since we've been below it or come close to it, we've moved down. So if you're in calls, just be cognizant of this. Doesn't mean buy puts there. I wouldn't touch puts unless we're coming off lower highs and we break support. Well, we got to close below support at 12.10. Okay, waited just a little bit longer to get in, 12.12. We're looking for the Qs to make it down to 12.57 or at the very least, an actual support here at 479.64. Okay, it's the most recent support down that we made here. Actually, I take that back. First one was here. We made it to there in 2 or 3 candles. ADD, I think at this time was still moving down, trending down. So we stayed in the trade longer. And I was not in this. I was done for the day. Trying to keep these people in these trades longer. The number one complaint I get is people who are in winning trades cut their wins too short. Now, I'm cutting my wins short very often, but I'm also not looking to get the majority or the entirety of any move ever. I'm fortunate enough to play a position size that affords me the ability to get out of my trades earlier while still making enough money to pay my bills. Okay, that's the benefit to scaling up. I trade a larger position time so I can minimize my time in a trade necessary to make the money I need to make. Okay, now, not everybody's in that position. I'm very aware of that. And quite frankly, there's many times where I do hold on to my trades longer because of the things that I see in the market that make me comfortable doing so. If I don't see those things, I won't do it. I'll get in where I'm supposed to. I'll get out where I'm supposed to. We had support here on Qs and SPY. So the original entry was here at the break of this support, right down to the next support. If you like what ADD is doing or what Qs are doing, or if they have more room to the downside, I also had somebody stuck in this trade. Blessed, I love you. You know I do. That's her name in the Discord. She didn't get out here. She didn't get out here. She didn't stop out here. She didn't stop out because I told her if we get back above this line, you consider stopping out. She didn't. I said, well, I'm gonna hope that we make it down to where we really wanted to, which was all the way down here. If that happens, please promise me you're going to get out. Now, I had said all this and done all this before I went to lunch. During my lunch break, like 5 minutes after I left, a big sell-off came. We got all the way down to both SPY support, but more importantly, the Q support right here. This is why this alert is here. We were aiming for this in that same move down. It was 1 penny off. Okay, so we didn't get to hear the beep of that support, but it did exactly what we wanted to do. And fortunately, she took herself out of the trade at that point, which is fantastic. After that, we start putting in higher lows. I was explaining to somebody what a wedge is, and that's why you could see this trend line right here. Right here is originally where we had it, right? Not all the way extended over here. Basically had it right here. And one of my new members, it's like, Jimmy, when should we be buying puts? And I said, well, I really wouldn't be buying puts because this is a wedge. And statistically speaking, wedges break high. I said, and here's what's cool about this. And I'll draw it on this chart because it's easier to see. It's not so squished. Here's what's good about this. Actually, we were drawing it just like this. I take that back. We are far away. I'd prefer that we get into this play when we're closer to this corner right here. But the reason we were able to get into this early, and I say we because we were talking about this in real time, I was not going to get into this trade because I was done trading for the day. Qs were also in a wedge. Okay, Qs were also in a wedge. And what we were looking for on the Qs was a break of the wedge. At 203, the Qs broke their wedge to the upside. Okay, first bone of contention on the Qs would be getting past this, but if we get past this, we're looking for the move all the way up to the pink line, which is exactly what we said. You don't know if it's going to happen. You don't know what resistance is going to hold and what's not, but we do know that SPY was wedging, Q's was wedging, and at 2 o'clock, ADD had already started to make this move to the upside, which, by the way, was a hell of a move. So we had all things in our favor telling us, hey, this is a good time to consider buying calls. You got in here. We made it to the resistance we hoped to get to. We made it to the next resistance, which was right here. And then the Qs kept going. Qs were touching their pink line all the way up here at 222, which is right here on SPY, also touching its pink line. I told everybody, I said, guys, if you got in all the way down there, this was a banger of a trade. You should be well into profit. I don't know how much you want to push your luck, but the pink line would be where I'd be getting out of this trade, only because historically speaking, Qs and SPY haven't done well when they've gotten close to that line. So you do you, but just move your stops up. And so we did push up just a hair more, and then we came down from there and into the close. Now, again, I don't trade this late in the day, but I could see patterns and I could see statistically what likely works, even though it's later in the day. Lower high. We were talking about it here. I said, man, somebody was asking me would I buy calls off this support. I said, I don't like calls here because SPY is putting in a lower high. Qs hadn't yet put in a lower high, but once the Qs got to the pink line, I said, you might want to try it here, knowing that if we close above the blue line, you got to stop out, but we'd be hoping that the resistance holds and we continue down because Qs were putting in a lower high. We'd expect support to fail. Now, it didn't fail until a couple minutes later, but SPY was going down because ADD started to sell off, right? So we were talking about entering here, and I don't have an exit here because we just kept putting in lower highs and lower lows. Now, theta is nasty this late in the day, so pullbacks during a move like this, I don't know how much you would have made if you held from here to here. It would be very uncomfortable, especially with same-day expirations. So the reason I wasn't telling people when to get out, I was just telling them, hey, if we close above any of these new lower highs that we make, you got to stop yourself out, okay? That didn't happen really until here, okay? So holding through the 350 candle is just dangerous anyway, but, you know, it is what it is. People do what people do. It's not my job to tell you how to spend your money. It's just I'm trying to teach you how to be patient enough to wait for the odds to be stacked in your favor to win in some of the trades that we're taking, okay? So we're going to wrap it up, guys. If you found useful information in this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, well, we'd love to have you. There's a link down below. First week's completely free. And that's pretty much it. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope you had a fantastic day today. Till tomorrow, I love you guys. See ya!